Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I want to talk about some books that I've read recently. First I want to talk about Spaceboy Volume 1 by Stephen McCraney. A girl lives in a mining colony in space with her family. Her father gets fired from the mine one day and so they are transported back to Earth. But there is one little snag. They have to go into cryogenic freezing for 30 years because that's how long it takes to get to Earth. So they head off, they are frozen for 30 years and arrive on Earth when things are very different, and so they need to learn new things. And also our main character in this is feeling a little lost. She's left her best friends behind who are now 30 years older than her, so she can't really sort of FaceTime them, so to speak to them. She goes to school and there's new technology. All the students wear Netgear glasses where they can see things on screens, and things are overlaid into the real world, so she needs to learn how to use those. One interesting thing about our main character is that she has synesthesia, and for her synesthesia shows up as colour flavours. Each person that she meets has a certain flavour, until one day she meets a boy at school who doesn't have a flavour at all, and he intrigues her. This, I think, was a good start to a series. I feel like though we didn't get much story in this, we just got sort of the beginnings of a story, the beginnings of revelations, but we didn't actually find out who this boy is, or why he doesn't have a flavour. And I feel like the story is yet to get started, so this looks like it's going to be part of a longer series, and I for one am looking forward to reading some more. The art style in this is just how I like it. It's quite bold and straight lines and bright colours, and it's just a real joy to read. I really enjoyed it, and it was a really good start to a series, and I gave it 3 stars. Next I read 6 Stories by Matt Wesolowski. This book has sort of been touted as having similar feels to the Serial podcast, which is a real life podcast that looks into crimes where there has been some controversy about whether the perpetrator of the crime is guilty or not. This book is purely fictional and is set in 2 timelines. The first is 1997, when at Scarf Claw Fell a body is found of a teenage boy which is near the local Outward Bound Centre. No one is able to work out what has happened, and we are now in 2017 when an investigative and journalist whose podcast examines cold cases like this talks to the teenagers who were part of the group that the boy belonged to before he was found dead. Podcast episodes also talk to people who were around at the time, and we follow, as the name suggests, 6 different stories, each helping to build up a bigger picture of the events and leading us towards a final conclusion. This was really good on audio and a great mystery thriller. I definitely recommend listening to it on audio, and I definitely recommend it in general. It had me wanting to find out the sort of whodunit and the mystery behind everything. I didn't guess it, which I think is really positive, and I thought the tension build up in this was really good. So it's one I definitely recommend, and I gave it 4 stars. Next up is The Season by Jonah Lisa Dyer and Stephen Dyer. I listened to this on audio and really enjoyed it. It was a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and I think, Pride and Prejudice is such a well-known book now that the premise, kind of what's going to happen. You can tell from the offset which characters are going to be which characters from Pride and Prejudice, and yet that still doesn't matter because the journey along the way is really fun. Megan is a soccer star and she plays soccer at college. She's at college with her twin sister when their mother springs it on both of them that they are to enter the 2016 debutante season. Megan is furious and doesn't want to participate, but she knows that she has to, and so she is led into this world of dipping and bowing and tea parties and balls. In this she has to learn to sort of suck it up, carry on, and along the way makes new friends and learns quite a lot about herself and others. All in all, I thought this was a really good take and spin on the Pride and Prejudice story, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to listen to the audiobook every day. It was a really fast read and definitely one that I would recommend, and I gave this one 4 stars. Only Love Can Break Your Heart by Catherine Webber. This was by far my favourite recent read, for reasons you will find out in a minute. But generally I find that to tip something into a 5-star read, of which this was, I have to have an emotional connection. Something has to fill me with emotion, whether that's happiness or sadness. That's what really tips a book over the edge for me of being a 4-star to a 5-star, is packing the punch with the emotional side. Reiko lives in the Californian desert with her parents and her younger brother. She is Japanese American, with her father being Japanese and her mother an American famous ex-model. She's popular and she's a really good student at school, and she has good grades and really has nothing to worry about. However, she is plagued by grief of the loss of her sister, her elder sister, who died years previous, and who she still sees and speaks to, but doesn't tell anyone about that. One night she is out rock climbing in the desert, she can't sleep, and she comes across Seth, who is totally different from her. He attends her school, but he's not someone that's really come on her radar before. He's quiet and he's poor, and he's not really the type of guy that she would normally go for, but they seem to have a connection. And they both need something from each other that neither really knows about or is perhaps willing to give. From the synopsis of this, you would think that this is going to be your general boy meets girl, they have a few issues, romance, but it's not. I loved the characters in this. Reiko especially, I feel like goes through some really major character growth, especially towards the latter end of the book. At the beginning, she's spoilt and popular and selfish and totally switched off to anything else around her apart from her small bubble of people, and that can be quite grating at times, especially the way she is with Seth and the way she treats him. It's really, it can grate on you, but don't worry, later on in the book she does really go through some good growth, and it's really good to see that. The emotions in this story built without me almost realising it at all, to the point where towards the last 50 pages of this book I missed my train stop and was bawling like a baby on the train in front of all the other passengers. The side characters in this are also great. Dre, who is Reiko's best friend, is very present. She gets angry with the main character when she is out of character, and she calls her on her shit. She doesn't let her get away with things. She really does call her on it, but she also supports her and helps her to find a way. She's really actually not as judgmental as Reiko seems to believe she's going to be, and I really loved that about the friendship. Trigger warning in this for a scene of sexual assault. I feel like it's quite graphic, not too graphic, but definitely if that is something that is a trigger for you, then you may not want to read this. One thing I'm really pleased with in this is that the character who is involved in this doesn't stand for it, and friends also reiterate that things like this are not your fault, and so I really thought that was very positive. I just really enjoyed this. I liked the family in this, the family dynamics, the relationship between Reiko and her brother and how that evolves, and I just thought it was a really brilliant read that packed a major punch, and so, as I say, a definite 5 stars from me. So anyway, that's some of my recent reads, and I look forward to seeing what you think of these, and if you've read them, what you have thought, and any 5-star reads that you have read recently. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.